Well, now we're moving into our third game of the series. Protoss is up 2-0. This could be match point, honestly, and ironically speaking, consider you should have put match point as the third map, I think, or the fifth map when you were organizing this league.
There could have been some good puns, but it's also very important to point out. It's very important to point out that the next map is Judgment Day, and this is going to judge if Stork is going to win this first show match, or if FanTaSy is going to pull it back and make a series out of it.
And it should be noted that Judgment Day is no longer supported by the IC Cup map pack. Slightly outdated map in terms of competitive play. Look at the Protoss versus Terran stats in the Kespa era. Looks like it was 23-17 in favor of Protoss, very similar to the match point stats that we saw earlier. And it's also, I think it's a really interesting map layout-wise. Everything is low ground, so makes it somewhat harder for Terran to push, I believe. A lot easier for Protoss to flank and circumnavigate the Terran army. But also of note is the fact that the three bases, one of them is a mineral only, I believe, incredibly easy to hold for Terran in the early game. Could easily get up to a 3-base economy very fast with a heavy vulture count. Something that Protoss, who would be potentially stuck on doing the same, would be weak against with a heavy zealot count. So I'm interested to see how these players play this out.
Now, one thing I would like to suggest just before I explain a little bit more of the map, Nina, do you want to load up the replay in single player, and then just in case you can't disconnect from single player, basically. I'm not sure what's happening, but it seems odd that you've disconnected 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
Kix, we have a request that you update the scoreboard.
No, don't. That's completely illogical.
1 second. There we go.
Zero Grom says that in Judgment Day is 55-45 for Protoss against Terran in my StarCraft, and that mirrors the statistics we see in Kespa. I guess another thing I want to add about this map is that I feel that a map split situation on this map was actually be really good for Terran here, because they get 5 gases and only 2 choke points that they have to hold on the ground. If you look at the expansion, if they say take the... Actually, I guess spawning points really matter in this, if you think about it. If you look at the... if the Terran spawns on the top and the Protoss spawns on the bottom, for example, Terran can easily expand horizontally, control both mains very easily, in my opinion. Whereas if the players spawn across from each other, let's say Terran top left, Protoss top right, it gets a little bit more difficult for Terran to take more territory. So I think that spawn location is actually going to play a surprising role in this game for us.
I actually think that this could actually be better to spawn vertically, historically from the games I saw, because I'm fairly certain this map was one of the first ones I really saw being played. And one thing to note is when you look at the actual map layout, Terran can take the top 2 mains quite easily if they spawn at the top, but then to actually move between them both, they can have a lot of trouble. Because there is that weird little 4th base that juts out, and it means you have to sort of run around them. Whereas if you go vertically, there's actually there's like the middle of the map, but you can sort of circumvent that. So it'll be interesting to see where they spawn. I mean, it is important to note as well that in STPL this map was actually played before, probably because it is one of my favourite ones, and PBT is actually 2-2 at the moment. So historically in the STPL at least, quite even.
Yeah, I'm ready to progress to the next game if you are. I think we covered pretty much everything here.
I'm ready to introduce the players and then disconnect.
You want to just open the replay in single player?
Okay, if it happens a 3rd time, then I know it's going to be a reoccurring theme, and that's...
Well, I think we'll just drop you this time. That way we can lose less time, I think. So
yeah.
As soon as it pops up, we'll just drop you, and then that'll be it.
Just hit the drop button, because I hit the drop button right away, and I'm still watching a replay. So...
Oh, that's because we don't drop you because we're being nice. That's why.
No,
okay. Yeah, we'll just drop you straight away.
Because the replay is still running.
Oh, the replay is still running for you? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry about that then. Well, we'll just drop you right away then.
And then when you rejoin, we're even again. Okay, so it's 2-0 to Stork. It is a best of 5. We're heading into the third map, the Judgment Day for FanTaSy here. Can he pull it back, or will he lose 3-0?
Alright, let's go see it. Alright, in the top left, we have the Red Terran, SKT1 FanTaSy.
And in the bottom left, we have Stork.
Looks like Stork hates the red tile maps. Now, I know this is a FESPA league, FESPA being the Fantasy Esports Association, but I think I'll go without disqualifying him here. I mean, it looks like Fantasy's not actually responded, so maybe Fantasy isn't too sure how strict the rules are, but you are actually allowed to type in game. But I mean, it's more professional if you don't. Stork's actually spending APM here typing, but he's not being.
I think if you do type, you have to type in Korean.
No, the thing is that this is a show match, correct? So this is not
It
the
is,
official
yeah,
team
good point.
league, so they're allowed to, in the All-Stars matches,
They were allowed to type.
talking some trash to Yellow back in the
Yeah,
day, yes.
that was fun.
So, Protoss seems to be placing his pylon under the gas as always. Once again, I'm not sure about it in this position. I don't remember exactly if this is the good place to put it, but actually it seems like it won't be too bad. Feels like the Protoss is placing the pylon under the gas on every map, regardless of where the exits are. And the Terran player opting to put a depot inside his main in this position. I'm wondering, where is he? If he's gonna put is the barracks gonna go on the left of this then? Nope, it goes on the right.
The right side.
Okay.
Which isn't actually Zealot type, which is an interesting choice, but it's straight. I guess it depends on the map as well, but in the previous two maps, Fantasy could actually.
Go through there.
Yeah, the SUV
so
went through there, so
Zealotite.
that's not Zealot type, so he's gonna have to hope that that Stork doesn't actually go for a Zealot first here, because he could be in a lot of trouble.
Well, historically, not even historically. In the past 2 games, it seems that Stork has been favoring the Zealot into Nexus build, so he might actually encounter a little bit of trouble here. If he was going to go for this, I would have placed the barracks to the left and the factory to the right of the depot, I think.
Yeah, that would have been a really good wall, actually.
Mm-hmm. Protect the middle line, protect the factory coming up. Makes it a really long walk around for the potential Protoss player. And Protoss scouting counterclockwise, the Terran... Oh, no, sorry. Wait.
Yeah, the Protoss went counterclockwise, Terran went clockwise, so they both actually scouted in the wrong direction. So, as you said before, they are actually vertical to each other, so, I mean, either way they'll be expanding away from each other.
Well, then again, Terran can expand with their push, hypothetically speaking, push down. Protoss would have a really long way to walk around in that scenario, I think. But the one thing to note is that when Terran pushes down, in order to secure the base, he would have to go to the left of this middle ridge, I think, in order to secure his third gas. But if he wanted to prevent the Protoss army from completely running past him and getting into where his other bases are, he would have to push on the right side. So it's kind of a really interesting decision-making process here. I wonder how the player is going to manage it if he does decide to push. And we do see the Protoss player has in fact scouted the Terran player. Stork is microing his probe inside FanTaSy's base.
Well, now it's stopped.
And then
like, no more micro for me.
We have a Dragoon blocking the entrance for the Terran player's SCV, but I don't think he's going to be able to block it indefinitely. It would take some incredible micro to prevent it from coming in. And wow, it actually blocks it entirely.
Yeah,
I'm really surprised. That is a big gap, but
it is. That's why you can't wall there. When you actually look, you have to look really carefully, but there's a weird texture bug on the floor where the floor doesn't quite match up, and that's actually unbuildable terrain. And if you put a Dragoon or a tank there, I believe, it actually fully walls it off. But you can't put any buildings. But if you could, that would make any versus Protoss matchup, or especially Protoss versus Zerg, it would make it incredibly difficult for Zerg because they'd just pylon wall it and then you wouldn't be able to get out your own main, which would be quite unfortunate.
Yeah, I've tried doing that
on Bridge.
Yeah, I've tried doing it on what's it called, Tau Cross as well, but unfortunately it doesn't work there. I don't think. Um,
It
at
does.
this,
It works in certain positions.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah, it doesn't work at the. I want to say, on the right side. It doesn't work.
hmm. Well,
One
right
in,
now we actually see the Dragoons coming to pressure the Terran, who wisely put a bunker. I thought at first that maybe he was being a little bit too defensive, but the reality of the situation is that Protoss is going for 1021 gate with a robo behind it, so this is actually a very aggressive Terran play. I mean, sorry, Protoss play. Terran is doing a great job defending so far, though.
the other thing, noticing the map layout as well, to really defend your natural, you can either defend the two chokes, so the one in your main and the one in your natural, or you can just defend this forward one. So it looks like he opted to build that bunker for the first time in the series. Actually, this is the first bunker he's built. So he's going to use that to defend against the early goons. And I mean, there's at least 5 goons pulling up outside now. There are 2 siege tanks, so he's probably not going to be able to get in here. Looks like very wisely, FanTaSy's actually going to use his SCVs to wall that off so the goons can't run up to the tanks. That could have been very dangerous.
Yeah, the Dragoon count is climbing.
I don't think they would have been able to get close without losing a lot.
Yeah, but at this point in the game, I think I would trade 5 Dragoons for 2 siege tanks. I mean, 1 factory versus 2 gateways, that could be a potentially strong pickup for the Protoss player here.
It's not only that,
but with the bunker, I don't know if he'd actually get both of the tanks.
it's possible he wouldn't. I mean, he does have some more Dragoons back at home as well, so he was ready. We see the patented Stork observer actually move across the map as well, so he's getting his map hacks ready.
Mm-hmm. And I do think that actually, just to bring it back one more time back to the bunker situation, I think with 4 Dragoons, you can 2-shot a tank. So he'll only need to get 2 volleys of shots off on each tank in order to snipe it. I think that he could have bought enough time for that. But it's not to be the case. The observer now scouting the fact that the command center is up slightly before the nexus, I believe, of the Protoss player. So
yeah, FanTaSy in a very good position economically. He's got his comsats coming up as well, so he'll be able to scan anything that's coming at him. He's actually just thrown a scan out there. He's probably scanned the tech. He does see an early citadel, which is quite an important discovery.
the early citadel definitely points to a 2-base arbiter play, or maybe some DTL in.
No, this is pretty standard actually. He's gonna go 2-base arbiter.
Yeah, but he also
he sees the bunker, he sees the tanks, and because he probably figures, okay, the Terran's gonna double expand behind this, so I'm just gonna go straight to my arbiter.
But that's exactly what made me think that maybe a DT was in order as well. I haven't really checked his robo in a while, but he had an early robo to get that early ops. He could get an early shuttle, and despite the Terran already having scan, he doesn't have engineering bay anywhere. No turrets to defend, and the Obs knows this, so it could have been still a possibility. But we do see a probe instead of waiting to place down a Nexus for his own third base, and it does get put down.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to note as well, Stork's actually still only on 2 gateways. You know, when he added his Nexuses, he can't actually build any gateways while he's doing that. But FanTaSy's already on 3 factories, so he's going to have a little bit of a macro advantage, at least until the 3rd comes up. And he does have a starport with a control tower coming up now. And one thing to note that we didn't explain is there's actually high ground above the naturals. It's the only high ground on the map. There's 4 little high ground pods, and they can actually shoot the natural mineral line. So FanTaSy has built a starport quite early in all of his games so far. If it's the same player as last time, he went dropship in all of his other games as well 2 years ago. So he could actually abuse this high ground pod as well, which is quite an important mechanic.
Yeah, I actually just noticed that myself. This is actually a very dangerous position. This is like I honestly hate maps that do this, but it's such a historical aspect of play for maps like this, like Lost Temple. I think Ground Zero had it for a while. Halls of Valhalla, I believe, is another one. Jim Raynor's Memory, I think, was one as well. These have been definitely waning in popularity in recent years.
Cross.
Tau Cross, of course. These have been waning in recent years, but they still present an interesting strategic choice, especially when they're smaller, when Terran can't build turrets on them, and it kind of should force.
It looks
Drop
like Stork has actually wised on. I mean, he can see there's a starport already, but he's actually moved all of his dragoons back there to defend this high ground pod for some reason. That's quite questionable.
Definitely an overcommit, yeah. Also, I can imagine how terrible it'd be, like, trying to get those dragoons out. Like, for example, the probe on the bottom almost blocked the exit for dragoons. And actually, dragoons are now making their way out on the map. They're probably excited to see these vultures out there. He's going to try and do some damage to them. But this, I can't help but believe that as soon as these vultures see this, they might be tempted to go for a run. But but they're slow vultures. He might have to pull back.
Yeah, speed is about to finish. Looking at his machine shop, so he may be able to do something. It looks like he may just be moving out to mine up the other path as well. This does give him an easier path to take this 4th base, but there is a dragoon just sat there, so he'll have to work for it.
And it does look like the Protoss player decided not to commit. He left his dragoons in a very awkward place, though. I definitely don't like seeing them in this position. Terran can easily run around the south side of the map and wrap around and potentially kill these zealots, run and kill probes, so on and
we
so forth.
We see the dropship there. It has 2 tanks in it. It's not dropped yet, but it looks like he will drop down. There is a cannon, but I think it may actually be out of range, so FanTaSy's actually going to be able to do a lot of damage. He's going to focus the cannon first, which... Oh no, there we go. He's actually focusing the probes, so this is a very dangerous position for Stork to be in. He's pulled away the probes, but he's not going up to kill the tanks.
Position. Does he have a shuttle?
No shuttle yet. Shuttle is on the way.
Dear.
Just started, actually. So this puts him back down to 2 base, which I think is the real damage here. Even 50... and Stork continuing his chattiness, and he's actually building a command center right under the nose of the Terran player. Very ballsy play here. I'm not sure what to make of this. Instead of trying to take the other main or anything like that. Oh, he was also being blocked by this SCV at the 6 o'clock base. So I can understand why he's doing that now, but...
It's a very scary place to build his base, though, because when you look at the actual map architecture, it's not that far away from the Terran's rally point. He could actually just push down there, and there is that wall in the middle as well that he can scoot around, and the Protoss won't actually be able to attack very well from a lot of angles.
He lost his Nexus, but he's got the shuttle up. He dropped them on the tanks.
Shuttle is definitely way too late for a map like this. The lack of awareness of a high ground, lack of awareness of a high ground made it difficult.
Well, he did know the high ground was there, because he did actually... He put the units there to defend against it when he saw the starport, so... I'm not sure if he forgot about it, but he had a lot of observers. Like, there was an observer that saw the dropship going out as well. It's still over the Terran's 3rd there. He's got one outside the I guess that'd be outside the 3rd as well, but he had perfect vision of the dropship coming down.
Maybe he thought that the drop was going to actually go into the base.
And we actually have a hidden Nexus on the 3rd, and I agree with Nina, just a real quick note. He definitely suspected that was going to get dropped behind the middle line, so he kind of committed in that direction. But because he knows that he took a very vulnerable base, he's using that mentality that I mentioned earlier, where if you expand twice and Terran only finds once, then you only finds one, then you got a free base. So,
well, that is kind of funny, I guess. But these probes, they're going to get caught.
Oh my god.
Get caught.
Oh.
Siege tank to follow it up. That was beautiful. Kills the probe right at the last second. Now, especially this Nexus has become a huge cost for this Protoss player. Stork is definitely hurt, and this high ground is not this high ground. Sorry, this ridge becoming something difficult for him to circumnavigate.
Yeah, this is why taking that base was a little bit questionable. He may not have too much map experience on this map. I do wish they'd add it back onto IC Cup though, please, because it's one of my favourite maps, but I'll keep putting it in my leagues and then forcing people to play it whether they like it or not. So it looks like FanTaSy's taken out the base. He's going to pull back a little bit, and he's just going to mine up there, so the Protoss won't be able to really take it.
Absolutely no need to commit at this point, I don't think. He is thinking about taking his 4th base, which I do believe he should be doing, but at the same time, FanTaSy has a 70 supply lead, so maybe it is kind of that time to start thinking about winning the game, you know? I mean, Protoss is down to 2 bases, just lost 2 Nexuses. I feel like delaying here doesn't really have much of a purpose. I guess his attack upgrade is going to finish soon, so being in position for that might be of a benefit.
Yeah, FanTaSy's actually moving some vultures down the bottom of the map as well to try and mine outside the Protoss main. It does get caught by the army.
Nice mine link here, very great box, and I wonder if those vultures saw those probes run past. Very risky run by here by the probes, covering the entire distance of the map, or just about the entirety of it, to make it all the way up there.
I don't think he did, because I think what he saw was the army clearing the mines, but he did not see the probes, because they were like underneath the Protoss army, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But then again, he is now pushing towards the middle for some reason. It may be taking the other path down to the Protoss base. It's going to be interesting to see how he decides to do this. Maybe he's trying to establish a safer fourth base for himself.
Well, it's not only that, but if you focus yourself pushing on this left alleyway, the Protoss will just run around you. So it's actually more important to push in the middle, and there's also buildable terrain in the middle as well, whereas the terrain on the left is a little bit less buildable, and stasis has been a problem, so he could actually start to add some turrets there as well.
And very nice leapfrogging coming out here.
Goliaths.
Yeah, he could build Goliaths as well, that would also help, but he scanned and he saw that the Arbiters have... there's one building at the moment, so he did see that. There's also one on the army, which he's seen. The engineering bay actually being used to scout out where the army is. Quite an interesting move there.
Kind of like it's TBT, but...
No, I think it's a good idea, though. I mean, considering the fact that there's these ridges on either side of the push direction, having only one vessel and suspending scans, maybe you don't want to risk the vessel, maybe you don't want to risk what's called spending too many scans. So the floating engineering bay maybe did have some sort of purpose there.
The important thing to note is Stork is still only on 8 gateways. You know, he's only just gone up to the third base again, so maybe that's beneficial for him, but Terran's already on 7 or 8 factories, and we do have an engagement in the middle of the map. A huge stasis goes down again.
Not good vulture position, though.
Yeah, and now the Protoss is overcommitting. I think he needs to retreat. These Dragoons can't be sacrificed for free like this.
There's a lot of tanks behind those stasis ones as well. He's barely put a dent in them. The vultures may have been a weird position against the Dragoons, but they did clean up those. The zealots really easily. FanTaSy's now established his fourth base behind this as well.
I don't think he realized just how much stuff there was that he was pushing into.
And I can't help but feel, though, that the Terran may have let a little bit of an opportunity to slip by. At one point, it was 110 supply to 186. By the time the two armies met, it was 198 to 150 something. The supply lead getting smaller and smaller. The supply lead is only 40 now, as opposed to 70 it was earlier. But Protoss, I'm not sure if they will be able to stay in this game much longer, though, considering how close these tanks are getting. Zealots running right into the tanks. I think they're going to be able to take a lot of them.
Looks like a lot of the units are actually getting stuck behind the stasis units again, so base is continuing to be a boon.
Another really awkward engagement with Terran, but just not enough Protoss things.
Yeah, and GG from Stork. Judgment Day, it has been judged that Stork will not win on this map.
Yeah, so this actually gives FanTaSy an out back into the series, which makes this, 2-1 now, so there is going to be a fourth set. I was actually quite worried there was only going to be 2 3-0s, but luckily enough, we see at least one fourth set so far.